all my ambition.
Shout out to everybody out there in the world listening per usual. If you're a listener of the CA podcast, I appreciate you. But if it's your first time listening, definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel, Club Ambition. I go by Sound, the host for today. And we have my brother, appreciate it for him coming through today, the executive producer.
And I was missing last week.
Marloon.
Hey.
Yeah, Marloon came back from his trip. He had a 4th of July trip out in New Hampshire. You know, went to some caves, did some interesting digging around over there with the family.
Different people up there.
Yeah, definitely, you know. But shout out to everybody, especially listening every week, thousands of people listening and watching on YouTube from Providence, Rhode Island, especially Rhode Island. Special episode this week. You know, you can almost call it similar to I think a couple other podcasts do it, where it's like an emergency episode. This is similar to that. I guess this can be like our emergency episode, right? Not traditional to what we've done, but something I definitely wanted to do, especially with this person, this actual now topic online, the number one political topic in the world. I thought it was just going to be on Twitter, but, you know, long behold, we have, as of last night, Fox News covering it. Today, Marjorie Taylor Green spoke about her, and she's here to speak her piece and speak her mind, and I want to provide her that platform, you know, as unobjectively as I can, but at the same time, just speak on the facts, and at the end of the day, just provide her that platform, you know. So we appreciate her being here today, and introduce yourself to the people for those who don't know you and who you are.
Yes. Hi, I am Senator Tiara Mack. I am 28 years old, and I am a state senator in Rhode Island, representing District 6, Providence.
There we have it. Tiara Mack. You know, now the number one thing that pops up when you search her name is Tiara with another T word, twerking. You know,
Twerking.
But before the twerking, let's actually provide some background. For those who don't know, what is your specific full job title?
So I am a Rhode Island State Senator, which is a part-time position. But that is the professional capacity in which I was twerking.
How long have you been a senator?
I was elected in 2020, so this is the end of my first session, or
Okay.
my first
2-year term, right?
2-year term.
You guys do 2-year terms. Senators do 2-year terms, right? But then
Yes.
you can be reelected, I think, as many times as possible.
Yes, it is an unlimited amount of reelections.
Okay. That's interesting to know. I feel like a lot of people don't know that. And for those who don't understand, what does it mean, in your words, to be a senator? What does that entail? What is that by definition?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people don't realize that most state legislators are part-time positions. So in Rhode Island, a state senator is a part-time role. So I have a full-time job, 40 hours a week somewhere else that pays my bills. And the state senator job is before taxes, it's roughly like $16,000 that we get as a stipend before taxes. And we meet the Senate this year met Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then sometimes we go in on Wednesdays. And it doesn't start until 4 o'clock. So it is after your work day. It is in addition to your normal job. And as a senator, I was elected in 2020 to represent the people. I beat a 30-year incumbent, someone who had been in office since before I was born.
Wow.
And yeah, he'd been there for a minute.
I didn't know that.
Someone who had been in office since before I was born, who had never knocked doors. And I decided to run against him because in 2018, I received a letter from him while I was advocating for abortion access and rights with 3 Bible quotes on it. And I was like, I'm sorry, this is on official State House stationery from a senator who is anti-choice and anti-LGBTQ. He actively voted against marriage equality, and every single time, this is like a weird Rhode Island thing, but when someone gets married in Rhode Island or wants to get married, they have to have a solemnization of marriage certificate signed by the General Assembly, and typically everyone just like votes yes, like yes, you get married. It's like pretty standard, but every time there's a same-sex couple, he would vote no.
Wow.
Yes. So I went against a 30-year incumbent who was anti-LGBTQ, anti-abortion, and wrote Bible quotes on his official stationery.
I saw that. And I saw that you won 60% of the votes?
Yes, I won 60% of the votes against him in 2020. So it was a big upset. Lots of people did not think that I would win. Lots of people did not support me openly until after I won. And I have been in office for 2 years now, shaking things up and showing people how to lead with empathy, compassion, and as an unapologetically Black queer woman who's also millennial.
You know, checking off all the boxes.
All of them.
That's amazing to me. The fact that you know, from my research, actually, the fact that to be a state senator, first of all, a lot of people don't know in Rhode Island there's 38 districts, so there's 38 state senators, representative of each district individually. So you represent District 6.
Yes.
District 6 is basically similar around the area where I kind of grew up, a portion of the south side, I would say, but definitely mainly Thurber's, North Main, and like Rhode Island Hospital, that whole area. For those who don't know, especially people listening out there, because I feel that's definitely important. A lot of people don't know the districts that they live in. If you live especially in Rhode Island, those that listen, definitely do your research. And you won the population of that district, I think it's 28,000 people, citizens, about around there, 28,400 people. And you won, there was 1,500 people that voted for you, and you won that position through that, which is crazy because that's 5% of the population that just voted.
Yeah.
So imagine, you know, and I feel like now, because you're up again for re-election this term.
Yes.
So now I would imagine there's going to be more than 5% of people that come out, hopefully, and vote for the new districts coming up now in Rhode Island. Because it's crazy to me, like a couple hundred people could have made a major difference. And I feel like people don't understand that. Like, it's such a, especially the small state of Rhode Island, obviously, but then there's a lot of people live here still. It's still the smallest state, but we're here dealing with like 1 million plus population. But then you have these specific districts that the turnouts can change by just a small margin of people, but people don't really realize that. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, there's such low voter turnout because you have these people who've been in office, like literally the person that I went against wasn't the only person who'd been there for over 30 years. Since I've been there, there've been people who've been there since before I was born. The majority leader, he was elected in 1992. I was born in 1993. Wow. There is another guy, the Senate president has been there for 37 years, I believe.
Wow.
There's a handful of other people. Like when I say I'm the youngest, I mean I am literally I'm the only person there who's in their 20s.
Wow.
There's only a handful of people in their 30s, and by a handful, I mean I think only Senator Acosta is in his 30s. And then Senator Mendes just turned 40. So there's a handful of people who are in their 40s. And everybody else is like 50 plus.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. Because my thing is like, no matter what you believe in, which side you're voting for, it's just that simple concept of your actual vote matters, especially on a local level by such a small margin, you know. But continuing along with some of your background. So for those who don't understand, what are some of the things that you can directly affect as a state senator in Rhode Island for your district? What is like something that you can, you know, potentially change within a month or two, or just in general with your next upcoming year?
Yeah, so since I was elected, we've been able to do some really cool things that we've been working on for a really long time across the state and across the nation. We just passed a pathway to $15 minimum wage. That's not enough. I think people need a lot more than $15, because if you do the math, $15 is $32,500 a year before taxes. I think people need a $55,000 minimum salary, which is like $25 or more dollars an hour. We also were able to legalize marijuana. We also we choose the judges that go into court. So these are the people that determine whether or not someone goes to jail or gets probation. We also determine the laws around what is legal and illegal. We make the budget. We determine how our state spends millions of dollars a year. We determine whether or not there is a police officer's Bill of Rights. We can also create mandates for curriculum. We just created Black History, mandating that Black History is taught in schools in Rhode Island. So we have a lot of power. We also supply money to like make sure that people get sewers. So some boring stuff, but some other like really big high profile things we can do.
That's amazing. And for those who don't know, would you mind providing a quick background as when it comes to your upbringing? How would you describe your upbringing? Because I saw a lot of people on Twitter questioning and everything. So when it comes to your upbringing, what would be a quick summary?
Yeah, so I was raised in Georgia. I was raised just north of Atlanta in Norcross, Georgia. And I'm a former low-income Black woman. So I was raised by a mom who worked paycheck to paycheck. My mom was unemployed. We struggled to pay the light bill. We struggled to pay for health care, was uninsured. Lights was cut off. Water was cut off. Rent sometimes was not paid. Borrowing money from relatives. So that was how I experienced life. Was able to go to really good schools, even though I live in apartments and shared room. Like I'm one of 5 siblings, so was always sharing room with 2, 3 siblings at a time.
Okay. And how did your, young education lead you towards actually studying here? Did you have like great grades that led you to like a scholarship? What was that whole process of transitioning to being a Brown actual graduate?
Yeah, so I went to really great public schools, received a really great quality public education, was able to do lots of extracurriculars, sports, music. I played viola, was really into being just like an academic, loved reading, loved like being smart, loved math, all of those things. But that was just a product of really good education in the South in my public schools. And Brown was always my dream school. I want to say that I read like a book when I was in 3rd grade, and I wrote an essay like I'm going to go to Brown when I get older.
Wow.
And my junior year, senior year, started applying, and I got in. It was like the happiest day of my life, and that's what brought me to Rhode Island.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And when it comes to this is a question actually by my friend. Shout out to Ariel Tavares. She provided me this question. Mutual friends, because I believe she knows you. So she provided a good amount of questions, but one of her questions was specifically when it comes to your actual interests as a child. Did you always like grow up wanting to be a senator, or did you have an actual other passion? I know you said you played instruments, so was that something like musical you were trying to leaning towards?
No, I really had no idea what I wanted to be when I grow up. I still don't really know what I want to be when I grow up. And I think that's okay. But I never saw myself in politics, especially as a young, poor, Black kid. Like that just like wasn't anything that I saw myself doing or being, because every single person that I saw in politics, like Obama was elected when I was in 8th grade. Like I remember working on that campaign with my mom, just doing phone calls, like in like the South Carolina headquarters. But like there were no Black people in politics. Like there were no Black people who like were leaders and who were on TV talking about policy and talking about communities. As a low income Black kid, the greatest thing that I can be, and this is a little embarrassing now because of like who this person is, but like I wanted to be Ben Carson when I grew up. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a brain surgeon for children, because that's what I thought like made money and made changes and like was seen as like a good career and like would like change my family. I never saw myself in politics, and it honestly wasn't until I got angry in 2018 when I was working on the Reproductive Health Act in Rhode Island, which codified the right to abortion, that I realized the person who was my own senator was someone who just had completely different beliefs than me. And I couldn't imagine him leading. And it was like, well, let's find somebody else to do it. And I remember working on the campaign of the person who was running against him before I did. And I was like, well, I would do anything to get this person elected. And they weren't elected. And I was like, well, I guess now it's me. I guess I'm the one who's got to run. And I ran during the global pandemic, and I won. And I'm here today as a part-time state senator.
That's pretty cool, because I have similarities to the way I am, especially recently. Like I feel like if something doesn't exist, is like, and I want it so bad, it's like, why shouldn't I do it?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't I step in, or why shouldn't I try to create that? So you did that right there, specifically with the Senate position. And yeah, that's cool to know, because a lot of people might have just thought like, oh, she might have always wanted to be this, or she got lucky, but it was a situation where you really just strive to do this at the time when you felt it, naturally. So it was like a natural situation, and look at the position you're in now. But continuing with some more questions. So did you actually, let me continue with some of Ariel's questions, because I want to get her questions out first. So shout out to Ariel again, providing some insight and a lot of more in-depth questions. She wanted to know, what are your legislative priorities overall?
Yes, so some of my biggest priorities are repealing the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, quality housing, making sure that housing is affordable, increasing Black home ownership and historically marginalized communities' home ownership. I also have a reproductive health priority that includes free menstrual products for people in public colleges and universities, codifying the parental consent for folks who are under the age of 18 to require an abortion, ending solitary confinement in our prisons. There is a probation reform bill. So it kind of spans this spectrum. Living wage, taxing the wealthiest Rhode Islanders. I was able to check off legalizing marijuana off of that. And then though we did get a pathway to $15, that was one of my priorities. But I really want to focus on a living wage now.
Okay. And let's, get to what a lot of people have been, waiting for. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you guys, desire to feel, let's play what has now become,
a household video.
household video, and is now making your name,
Yes.
one of the most Googled names in the past 24 hours in the world.
The twerk heard around the world.
The twerk heard around or seen around the world. So this is the post right here. For those who don't know, Senator Mack this is obviously your Twitter account.
Yes.
And this was, what date specifically? Was it on 4th of July exactly?
Yes, it was America's birthday.
So on 4th of July, she made this post. And I don't want to say immediately. I want to say, how would you describe it? Was it same day or was it like the next day that it kind of picked up?
It was the same day.
Same day? Really?
Oh, yeah. People were popping off same day.
Was it for those who don't know, the Twitter account I saw mainly picked it up was Libs of TikTok. Was it, did they do it the same day or?
I actually don't know. So I had never heard of Libs of TikTok before. I was on Libs of TikTok.
Really?
So yeah, no, I really don't follow too many like right wing things.
Okay.
Like, protect my peace. But yeah, someone's like, oh my God, you're on Libs of TikTok. And I was like, oh, like, is that like a big deal? Is that like?
It's a huge deal. I'll be here to tell you the firsthand. Definitely a huge deal. I've known of them, especially due to the situation they had with Joe Rogan. And then them being called out on TikTok for, I guess, quote unquote controversies, but then they're huge on Twitter. Their account's huge on Twitter. So then they reposted this video right here. For those who don't know, here it is. Senator Mack.
Looking like a snack. Vote Senator Mack.
Vote Senator Mack. Now this was Block Island, right? I think
yes,
Block Island. And let's get to some instant feedback. First of all, in your opinion, before we get to actual quotes that I'm going to quote from people that have actually obviously given feedback online and shared their opinion, what would you describe in your own words the reaction to this?
If I could be real, it was white. It was a very white reaction. Folks lost their absolute minds over this. Folks were claiming that they were like throwing up in their mouth and they were just like so disgusted and disappointed and like their whole world was turned upside down literally because I had done a headstand and twerked. It was similar to the reaction that like white people had to when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. They were like, the world will never be the same. I'm traumatized. And I'm like, whoa, this was like not that deep. Like this was like not that like deep. Like I'm not doing anything out of the normal that people would do at a beach. But I mean, most people can't do a headstand. A lot of people can't twerk.
You might be more talented than a lot of people.
Yeah, but so I was like pretty caught off guard by like how much like how affected people were negatively. They felt that like I had personally done something to like rock their world and their perception of like all things holy and moral.
Yeah. So now that you said that, one of the actual feedbacks that I saw online that actually came to mind specifically, people were feeling this way where they were like, she did this divisively, specifically to try to get the engagement of the people of this demographic, the TikTokers, the millennials, maybe even people that twerk. Was it specifically as, strategic as people are making it seem, like you contrived this plan, or was it something that you just naturally did and you were like, hey, let's see what happens?
Yeah, so it's funny. So my TikTok is like literally a week old. Like I created a TikTok. It might be 2 weeks old, but I definitely have a video, like one of my first videos, like, hey, I'm trying to go viral on TikTok to talk about abortion. Like I had a goal in mind to start talking about abortion. One of my friends asked me to join her on her TikTok. She's got a couple 100,000 followers. She's a Harvard graduate, and she talks about the law, and she's like, join me, and I couldn't join her live because I didn't have 1,000 followers. And I was like, oh my God, the current, like I have to have 1,000 followers in order to join my friends live.
I didn't know that.
And I was like, okay, well, it'll take me a little while to build up to 1,000 followers, but it'll be fine. I'm just going to talk about abortion. I'm going to talk about the landscape in Rhode Island, because this is right after Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court. And I was like, okay, bet. Like this is something that I know. I've been working on this since 2015. I at least know Rhode Island. I can give some people some hope in this time, because people are like, oh my God, I can't believe like so many bad things are going to happen. And I was like, wait, like pause. Like, I do this work in Rhode Island. Yes, what happened federally is really scary, and we have a lot of safeguards in Rhode Island. Do not give your money to these politicians. Give your money to an abortion fund. Invest in grassroots efforts. Don't just immediately give your money to people who are asking for it. There are organizations that do this work and have been doing this work, and we have that infrastructure. So like, don't panic, but here are some resources to help you make an informed decision about how to get involved in the next step. And so I was like, okay, TikTok, like in crisis, like I've got a lot of different hobbies. And I was like, okay, like I am a young, like millennial. I think I can be cool. I tried TikTok before. It just like wasn't my thing. I'm like, oh, this is exhausting. I've got to pump out content every day. And so with this, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going like talking about abortion and the landscape in Rhode Island is my niche. I'm a state senator. People will respect that platform. People will listen to me because I am a state senator and I know this work really well. And then this video in particular, like, yes, it was like, yes, I did post this video after like knowing like, okay, my goal is to go viral. I definitely want more attention. I want to bring more attention to this content, but it was also just a silly day at the beach. Like I've twerked upside down in so many different venues. Like I be twerking like since it was like the one thing that I learned like year one of the pandemic. And so I was like, okay, proud of myself, got that core strength, can flip upside down. And I like did I expect it to get some traction? Yes. Did I expect to end up on like Tucker Carlson's little like TV show with his name, like with my name coming out of his mouth? Absolutely not. One of my friends is in Italy right now. It's like in the Italian news. I was like, this is like wild, literally for like an 8-second video of me like flipping over and like twerking.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely did not expect this.
International news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
International. So quick responses. Your first things that the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear these actual quotes from feedback from people online. Mm-hmm. First one, not professional. What happened to class? What do you say?
So I've been in office for 2 years. People have called me not classy for less. Like I say fuck a lot. I got elected saying fuck. I got elected wearing t-shirts. I have a shirt that says fuck ICE on it that I like took before I was even running. And I posted that when there were national conversations about the ICE detention centers and like the human rights violations that are happening there and the tragedies that are happening with children being separated from their parents. I have the shirt that says like fuck ICE. And so like that's who I am, and this is who I've always been. I ran as an unapologetically like young person who's going to like flip the norm. I'm not a stuffy old cis heterosexual white dude. I'm a young black queer millennial who saw someone who was in office who was in their 70s and wasn't doing anything to engage their community. And so when people say like you're not classy, I'm like, but by whose standards and who determines what's classy? And they've called me classy for less. So like unbothered.
Okay, I like that. She got my vote.
Okay, great. But where do you live though? Like, do you live in my community? Like I had so many people, and I think this is also another entry point for people to learn more about the political process. Lots of people are like, you got my vote. I'm like, okay, but do you live in Rhode Island? More specifically, do you live in District 6? Are you registered to vote? And I love that this is getting people to say like, oh, senators can be real people. And like, there's some relatability. Like most people probably didn't even think about the upcoming midterm elections until they saw this video, and they're like, oh, we got elections. I got to vote for somebody. And so, yeah, I think it makes me smile because we've got folks who are like, wow, like maybe I should be voting. And like, if I can vote for this person, great. And if I can't, who else can I vote for who maybe is just as cool and down to earth and approachable as this person?
Another feedback I saw online, people were saying, public beach, there's kids watching. State Senator, there's kids watching. There's kids watching. What do you say?
So a lot of people made references to kids. I'm in a bathing suit. I don't know what people usually wear to the beach in their own free time, but when I was at this beach, people were in bathing suits covered in less. And so I think it's this like false modesty that there is like some way that you have to behave. And there's this expectation that like I have to hide my body because it doesn't look the way that certain people want it to look. Or this is like too overtly sexual. It's not like I'm like sitting here grinding on someone. And if I was, that's totally fine. But like there's nothing overtly sexual or wrong about this video. And so when people say the kids, I'm like, but I'm wearing a bathing suit. I'm wearing exactly what a young person would see someone wearing at the beach. Our young people have also literally heard the last president of the United States say, grab her by the pussy. They have seen so many other things. Like you can literally, during 2020, there were young people who were seeing Black men being killed by police, and that was normal. We just had young people who saw their classmates who are 8, 9, 10 years old being shot by someone with a rifle where their bodies were literally unrecognizable because they were shot by a high capacity assault rifle. This, my cheeks in the air, y'all. It's funny because I'm like, I can literally watch Black death on television more readily than I can see someone who looks like me, who leads like me, with compassion like mine, fighting for communities who don't have a voice and who don't feel represented. And then folks want to come back at this, of all things. Like young people have seen worse. They've been exposed to worse. And if this is the worst thing they've seen, or in your opinion, then you're not paying attention and you don't live in the same America that I've been living in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, I like that you brought up Trump because that was another of the feedbacks I saw. A lot of people were saying if you like this, you shouldn't be mad at Trump grabbing women by the pussy. And yeah, overall, like a quick response to that, like that idea of like you shouldn't be mad at this if you were mad at Trump. Kind of going deeper with that a bit.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have also tried to use this as like, you should, like, are you not ashamed? And like, this is like how dare you? As if like my body is supposed to be a secret, or it's supposed to be an apology, or that like by existing I am a hypersexualized being. I'm literally next to no one. I'm doing nothing overtly sexual. I'm literally moving my body. This is a yoga pose at the end of the day. It's a yoga pose with some added movement because I got a little bit more hip movement and a little bit more booty to jiggle up there. And so when folks try to paint this as something that it's not, it's the jump and it's the leap and it's the mental gymnastics. And I'm like, baby girl, you've lost me, because your argument is inherently centered on racism, because Black bodies have always been hypersexualized even before me. Blackness has always been fetishized. And then you have, on top of that, I'm a woman. The fact that after the Supreme Court literally ruled that I have no rights to my body in certain states, and then folks want to tell me that this is not it. Like, I've already been told by everything in the United States that my body's not my own. My rights are not my own. If you were poor, you don't matter. If you were Black, you don't matter. If you were trans, you don't matter. If you're gay, you don't matter. And so to do this as an act of resistance, as an act of joy, and to tell them like, fuck your labels, fuck your norms. Like, I will do this regardless. And like the fact that they can't control me, and the fact that they want to say like, but like, you should have known better. But why? Says who? For what reasons? Like, this is not professional. According to who? And to what reason? Am I supposed to be professional on a beach on my free time? Like, no, like you don't get to continue to make the rules so that I can follow them and trip up when I don't follow them quote unquote correctly.
How about specifically someone said on Twitter, Tiara Mack is why Blacks aren't taken seriously.
If I am the reason why Black people are not taken seriously, then what America have we been living in before this? Like, Trayvon Martin was literally carrying a bag of Skittles when he was shot. George Floyd literally said he could not breathe, and they killed him regardless. Philando Castile had his own gun that he told police he had in his car that was registered in his name, and they shot him anyway. Breonna Taylor was laying in her bed, and they shot her in her sleep. Like, that is not why they don't respect us. They were calling me classless. They were calling me nigga before. They were calling me XYZ before this video. They have never respected blackness. My blackness has always been a threat. I've got black brothers. I've got black uncles who've been in and out of the prison system because they have been put on a track because of the opioid epidemic. Crack literally put in our communities, our schools, literally telling our black boys and girls that they are criminals. This is not why they don't respect us. This has nothing to do with why they don't respect us. My body has always been fetishized by whiteness and by the system. They never respected me regardless. And so for people to say that this is the reason, their eyes are not open and they're not connecting the dots, and they're playing into the narrative that whiteness wants us to stay, that we have to assimilate, we have to be as close to whiteness as possible in order to be respected. I have an Ivy League degree. They don't respect me in the state house regardless. I speak quote unquote white according to some black people, and yet I'm still not respected by white people regardless. So it has nothing to do with what I'm doing. It has everything to do with the skin that I have, and the melanin it contains is disrespected by white people regardless. Day one, from the jump, out the womb. Whiteness never respected me regardless. This didn't change their minds.
Yeah. And another point that you pivoted towards that I was going to point out, one of the feedbacks I saw, one of the direct Twitter replies I saw to one of your tweets speaking about oppression, someone said, you went to an Ivy League school and you're a senator, you're not oppressed. What do you respond to that?
Formerly low-income black woman who literally had to go and try to check off all of the boxes that whiteness told me I needed to be successful. Still, to this day, I am in a state Senate seat. I'm a seated senator with an Ivy League degree. I still get talked over in meetings at the state house. I still have bills that aren't scheduled. I still have people who disrespect me, who don't know my name. I got braids one time and they're like, oh my God, Senator Mack, we didn't recognize you. I'm like, I'm one of two black people in this room. How do you not recognize me? And so like, it's yeah.
Yeah. And specifically, I would point out, especially when it comes to, we spoke about it before earlier in the interview where you discuss your actual salary, because a lot of people say the senator and now they want to point it towards being rich. Like a lot of people on Twitter are like, she's rich, she's a senator, but then her salary is literally public information, and $16,000 a year to me is not rich at all. So I don't, it's like,
yeah,
but a lot of people don't know that either. They're just misinformed. They don't know actual state senator's salary. But guess what? You can look hers up publicly online, free, Google, just search it away, and it might change some of your opinions out there.
And it's also not a full-time job. Just
yes.
Like disclaimer again, I do this job in addition to my other job. I also play rugby. So I do this in addition to playing rugby. I do this in addition to hanging out with my friends. I do this in addition to trying to date. Like this is an add-on because I care about my community and I care about the rules, and I've been able to navigate. Yes, I recognize that I have some privilege because I've been able to navigate predominantly white spaces. I speak the way that I speak, and I have the accolades that whiteness has said, yes, you get to come into our spaces because you have the degrees that we've already said are worth being in our spaces. I only get to navigate those spaces. I don't get to fully immerse myself. There's still a barrier between me and the spaces they can occupy. And so when people try to paint this like you don't know what oppression is, that negates my entire experience. That negates that I still live in a world as a black queer woman where I have to see people who look like me literally shot, literally killed by police violence. I have to watch people who look like me fight for their right for food, fight for their right not to be evicted in the middle of winter, fight for their right to exist and go to a school that isn't crumbling, fighting for their right to drink water that isn't contaminated with lead, fight for air that is being able to, that they can breathe and not get asthma from. Yes, I do have a certain level of privilege, but by being a black woman, I will never have the amount of privilege that whiteness affords to white people. And for people not to understand that part of the conversation, they've already they've already tried to paint a picture that I am on not their side, when like that is what whiteness wants to do. It wants to divide. I am trying to build a narrative that like we can have both, and like I can have privileges in this way and I can still be oppressed in this system.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of whiteness, let's look at arguably the biggest white male figure in news media, especially if we're talking about actual formal news channels, you know, Fox News, CNN. It doesn't really get bigger than Tucker Carlson, and he actually tweeted this. I saw this video that someone posted on YouTube, like on a regular YouTube channel, but then I researched it more and I realized that he actually tweeted this last night, 8:53 p.m. Tucker Carlson, July 5th, 2022, from his Twitter account. It reads, "Why are Democrats holding back the very talented Tiara Mack?" Which actually rhymes. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. It's also funny because some people also were like, wait, Tiara Mack is in politics? I was like, no. Like, our names just sound super similar.
Confuse you with, I was going to ask you that as well. Do you listen to Tiara Mack?
Yes, I do.
That's crazy how you're actually, at least you're aware of her. Because a lot of people, like, that would be even weirder. Like, what the coincidence? But you were obviously aware of her.
Yeah, I know who she is. Like, love the music, but that's not me.
Yeah, Tiara Mack is not Tiara Whack, you know. But I'm pretty sure Tiara Whack, I gotta check her Twitter account, but she probably is aware of you by now, especially if we got people like Tucker Carlson. So here's his actual reaction, and we're gonna get your reaction directly after.
You have to wonder why it's left to this show, of all places, to announce the rising star, the next rising star in the Democratic Party. But it is, so we're going to. It's a woman called Tiara Mack. You never heard of Tiara Mack? Well, maybe that's because she's a state senator in the country's smallest state, Rhode Island. And you have to wonder why. This is a woman with demonstrated talent who has, as she announced,
yeah, there's like slowly panning in,
an Ivy League degree.
He really wanted to take a look.
Brown, but still technically Ivy League. Famous people send their kids there. Whatever, it's Brown. You should be impressed. And she's an amazing performer. Here's her latest campaign ad.
Vote Senator Mack.
So you ever had those moments where you see something and you're like, oh, that's the future. That's what it looks like. We saw Tiara Mack head in the sand, twerking, and we thought, man, that's the Democratic Party 2020. So not everyone liked it, and she responded this way on Twitter, quote, "Damn, twerking upside down really makes the conservative, unhinged internet accounts pop off on Monday." And nevertheless, she wrote, "I'm really excited for the House sex ed bill hearing later today. Teaching comprehensive, queer, inclusive, pleasure-based sex ed was a highlight of my time teaching." And you got to wonder, since she just summarized everything the Democratic Party is for, why isn't her own party embracing her? Why is she still a state senator in Rhode Island? Why isn't she Secretary of State? Why aren't they pushing her for president? Oh, she's not old enough. Really? Because the racist Constitution said she's not old enough? Why not change the Constitution? Why not make Tiara Mack your standard bearer in 2024? But they're not. They're pushing Joe Biden. It was like...
Lagging. It would lag.
Oh, damn. I mean, he goes on.
Come on, Tucker.
That's a great angle of me, too.
100 years old, pale, stale Joe Biden, and then Hillary Clinton and Pete Buttigieg. Again, talk about systemic racism. Tiara Mack, 2024. She ought to run with the guy in the dress who oversees Biden's nuclear waste program. That's Sam Brinton. He's our new Deputy Assistant Secretary for Spent Fuel and Waste Disposition. Deals with the spent fuel rods. He's also got something called a puppy fetish. How do we know this? Well, it's all over social media. So, of course, he's in the Biden administration. So he ought to be right up there with Tiara Mack. And then they should go a step further. Why not make Rachel Levine head of DOD? He's already an admiral. Come on now. Be honest about who you are. People appreciate it. Tiara Mack, 2024.
So, talk about, wow. Tucker Carlson literally, we should have counted how many times he said her name, because it was not just once, definitely.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder how many times he went back to that picture, though.
Yeah, he definitely he definitely had a thorough segment on you, and I watch both. Like I try to watch news from CNN and Fox News to get both sides of it. But specifically Tucker Carlson, for the most part, I just find him amusing. I really don't take him very seriously because I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that he states. But I was like thinking overnight, I'm like, I wonder if he's going to speak about Tiara. And here we have it. What is your response to Tucker Carlson?
I have actually I've only seen clips of him and memes of him. And so I know that he's like this like right wing, like it boy in conservative media, but it was just like really funny when I had friends where they're like, oh my God, Tucker Carlson said your name. And I was like, oh, the meme guy, the guy from the memes, like cool. And I knew it was going to be something equally as like ridiculous as exactly what happened. So I am unfazed by it because like at the end of the day, it was an 8-second video and he's suggesting that I should be president and change the Constitution, and like also had some like anti-transness thrown in there. It was just like, it's so ridiculous and so flamboyant that it's just like, okay, like what is your actual argument though? Like he doesn't point to anything being wrong in the video. He doesn't actually have an argument about blackness, like a class, like he doesn't say it's classless. He doesn't really provide anything other than like the flamboyant nature of like this popping on his desk and him having to go off the cuff about some like bodacious woman who like happens to be like now a household name. But yeah, I think it's amusing. But I think it also led to a lot more people giving me a phone call on my senator phone number, calling me the N-word. It's no secret that he is someone who has radicalized many white supremacists across the nation who listen to that channel and feel that America is slipping from their like fingers and they have to protect their communities by getting others outside of it. And so after that segment aired, I got phone calls from like 8 p.m. to like 4 a.m. this morning, and most of them are calling me the N-word. Like most of them are calling me like a fat bitch nigga. Like that, like that's literally at least 5 of the messages that I got like during my sleep because of the segment. And so like he knew what he was doing with his platform to like cause even more harassment and even more like sensationalizing this like clickbait argument. But like he elevated my platform more. So like, thank you for that. Now more people, I had someone literally tell me, they're like, so you were on Tucker Carlson, which means I guess you're basically amazing because everything he is against, we are for. So like your name's out there now. But yeah, like thanks for sending some more racists my way. And other than that, like this is on track with everything that I've heard about him and his platform. And it's pretty consistent with not for me, not my people, not many people I know listen to him and like follow it. But like now that I know it's out there.
Yeah, because millions of people watch.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Unless the numbers are skewed.
Yeah.
But yeah, millions of people watch him on a weekly, nightly basis. So you literally felt, unfortunately, obviously in your situation, the domino effect of said Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
That is, interesting to hear from a first person perspective, actually. Someone that went through it, because obviously you said that you've received similar calls in the past, especially after now the twerking video being posted, but with the Tucker Carlson actual segment on you, which for those who obviously didn't understand it was sarcasm. He was all for her, saying like, vote for her, let's make her president, but with the sarcastic tone, because I did see some people kind of confused, like, what, he's going for her? But it's like, guys don't understand the sarcasm there. But at the same time, it's like, if you don't understand it, it only benefits you still, in a sense where it's like, okay, I guess he's, because he does sarcasm, because I watch a lot of his clips. He does sarcasm a lot, but never really like full on segments like this. He tends to kind of just be daggering. With you specifically, I guess he just decided to make it more
that's the power
theatrical.
of the booty.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
The power of the booty, that's crazy. I would imagine you and Tucker doing a dance battle or a twerk off.
Right, winding up on him. You wish.
Oh man, I don't know if Tucker can handle that. I don't know if Tucker's been to a couple, whining parties, or like those school dances we used to go back in the day. People just grind on the wall. I'm not sure if Tucker's been, but hey, he's more invited to try, I guess. I know he doesn't have a TikTok. But someone who I know definitely has a lot of social media platforms and arguably is a bit more bigger, I would say, than Tucker when it comes to her audience, because she's publicly admitted to being a far right actual, politician that she, especially during the Trump administration was very famous, has now spoken out. Marjorie Taylor Green, a couple hours ago, fresh off the press, has posted this video responding and reacting to Tiara.
Yes, from my home state of Georgia.
Oh, correct. And she still is a representative out of there?
Yes, she is, but there is a black man who is running against her. He's got a cute cowboy hat and like a 3-legged dog, so vote for him.
And when it comes to her, what is your... So you obviously were... Because with Tucker, you weren't not so much up on, him and everything that he entails, but with her, were you more?
No, I know that she is an alt-right gun fanatic that stands literally for everything that I don't. She was like pretty sure one of the insurrectionists, like maybe not. I just know like Marjorie Taylor Green, crazy gun, ultra conservative, like right-wing Georgia rep.
Yeah. Okay.
Good summary.
A lot of good verbs right there. Here we have the video fully.
Here's one thing I want to finish with this, and I want to finish with twerking for Senate, because God knows none of us have ever seen this before, and this is something that I can't even believe I'm showing you. It's so outrageous. Well, her name is Tiara Mack. Oh, Tiara. And she is currently a state senator for Rhode Island. She has been elected.
Yes, I was.
And she's running for Senate. And here's how she appeals to, I don't know, the 80-year-old rich white liberals who basically voted her into power. Let's go ahead and watch Tiara twerking for Senate.
Vote Senator Mack.
Vote Senator Mack, twerking for Senate. Oh my gosh. Hey, listen, she's something. She sponsored a bill to teach queer inclusive pleasure-based sex education to children. No, let me say it again. I know you're shocked, and I was shocked too. Yes, she sponsored a bill to teach queer inclusive pleasure-based sex education to kids. That's Tiara Mack. And, she's so desperate for attention that she put out that video, and that's why we made her Demon Possession of the Week. We just couldn't resist.
Demon Possession of the Week. What an honor.
You made Demon Possession of the Week on MTG Live. Okay, you guys.
Demon Possession of the Week, which I didn't know was a thing, and I'm trying to understand it a bit more. I guess possessed. So you're possessed by a demon? Demon Possession of the Week, I guess.
Crazy, bro.
I mean, news to me, but
Crazy ass label.
That's a because I know Charlemagne does Donkey of the Day.
You wanna know what's crazy? She low key looks like a demon.
Marjorie Taylor.
She low key looks evil.
Yeah.
I mean, I make it my mission not to talk about people's appearances because body shaming is never correct, but
especially another female, right? She's Marjorie Taylor.
Just like anyone, no matter your gender. I just you can't help how you look. Mm-hmm. You can help how you act, and you can help how you like present yourself to the world, but how you look, you got nothing to do with that. But yeah, no, that is, I mean, I know that she is a hateful bitch and I can judge her on that. Yeah. And so I will.
Yeah. And when it comes to specifically the bill, for those who don't know that she was talking about, specifically the bill is Bill S2285, correct?
Yeah, so that was the bill for 2022. I also introduced that bill last year, and I talked about this a little bit on my TikTok, which y'all should follow. But that bill I introduced in 2021, my first year in session, and it got no traction. No one was talking about that bill at all. It's a comprehensive, queer, inclusive, age-appropriate, pleasure-based sexual health education bill that would teach, that would include that in the definition for sex ed for 6th graders through 12th graders in Rhode Island. That bill did not get any traction. And then in 2022, this year, after a wave of anti-LGBTQ bills, including the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida and the anti-trans bills that happened in Texas and the national wave of anti-trans kids in sports, this bill like picked up. Like the right-wing conservatives were like, we must prosecute her for this bill. And it's a bill about safety. It's a bill about inclusion. It's a bill about making sure that people know their bodies and they have the tools to navigate conversations about their sexuality. And the right wing took this up and they're like, oh my God, she wants to teach her kids how to masturbate when they're like 3 years old. I'm like, that's not what this bill is. Y'all are weird. Maybe like I don't know what, like that's not what this bill is. It's a comprehensive, queer, inclusive, age appropriate, culturally relevant, pleasure-based sexual health education bill, because we fundamentally have young people who don't understand their bodies, don't know how to navigate these conversations, don't know how to talk about consent, and they don't know how to talk about sexual assault and sexual violence. And so that is the aim of this bill. And it was also paired with a bill called the Sexual Assault Survivors Bill of Rights, which a version of it passed this year with my name on it. And so these bills never happen in isolation. The Comprehensive Sex Ed bill is also a bill that paired well with the Sexual Assault Survivors Bill of Rights, which protects people who are victims of sexual violence. But the right wing never want to talk about the positives. They never want to talk about protecting people. They only want to talk about queer Black people who are, I guess, demons of the weak, who want to quote unquote harm our young people. And as an educator, that was one of the most disappointing takes that I got. And I will fight tooth and nail and call out all these people in their names and use every single like piece of resources that my Ivy League degree afforded me, because it is ridiculous. It is like completely bizarre to me that someone would take a bill aimed at helping young people navigate conversations around their bodies and their autonomy and turn it into something like sick and weak, when we have literally a former president who was accused of sexual violence and sexual assault. We have two seated Supreme Court justices who just took away our right to abortion, who had national cases about them sexually assaulting people in their lives. And me, someone who has been a champion for all communities, including young people, is being called names that are vile and disgusting and untrue. I get a little worked up about this, because that is the narrative that the right has been trying to paint, that queer Black people, young people are trying to like harm our children, when that's the furthest thing from the truth. And the right ultra conservative are literally harming the mental health and wellness and safety of young people by literally targeting them and older queer people. So very upsetting. And it is no surprise to me that people who want to spew hate also in the same vein will spew at any chance that they get.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, because I definitely thoroughly read the bill, and there's a portion, because I feel like a lot of people online, especially surface level, who don't know about bills and how they work, they get scared because they think it's like, even if you don't agree with the policy or said actual intention, they think it's like by demand or by force. But when you read it, it literally says a parent or legal guardian may exempt his or her child from the program by written directive to the principal of the school. It says no child so exempted shall be penalized academically reason of the exemption, but it might have been a typo. But basically, this is a bill, but it's not forcing nobody. You have the actual option, if you are a parent that doesn't agree with this when it comes to your child, your student in the school, you can decide to, hey, I don't want them to do that. And I think that makes it kind of, obviously digestible for all, in my opinion. But if you actually read the bill, you understand that. But I get it. They want to politicize it more and kind of like make it scarier than what it really is. But definitely do your research and read the proper bill. And this also goes kind of hand in hand with something that came up on Twitter a lot. And I believe it was one of Ariel's questions. What does respectability politics mean to you? I saw this come up a lot. It's like a new thing. A lot of people keep talking about this term. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, so a lot of people, this goes back to like, you should have acted professional. You were a senator. You should act this way. Respectability politics is this idea that when I am in spaces, I must perform whiteness. I must act a certain way in order to be respected. And like I said earlier, as a Black woman, they won't respect me regardless. Respectability politics is this idea that if you are Black or a person of color, if you behave in the way that white people expect you to behave, you speak proper, you're not loud, you're not aggressive, and you like conform and you say all of your syllables and you like say it with a smile on your face and you're not too aggressive and you're pretty easygoing, white people will then be kinder to you, or they won't take away your rights, or they will like treat you better. But it's because Black people, and I'm using Black people because I'm a Black person, so this is my only experience that I can use. But because we are loud, because we are unruly, because we don't speak in full sentences, or we don't say all of our words correctly, that is why white people look down on us. So if we are just more respectable or more aligned with whiteness, if we act more like white people, we will be respected in the same way that white people are respected. But that is not true. Again, Trayvon Martin was literally shot while he had Skittles in his hand. Philando Castile was literally shot while telling them that his gun was in the glove compartment. They don't care how much we respect them, how much we try to speak like them, act like them, walk like them, talk like them. At the end of the day, racism works in a way that me being Black is a direct threat to my safety, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. And a couple more questions before we get you out of here. Appreciate you lending us your time at all, especially the raw reaction.
I'm a talker, so I'm so sorry.
No, no worries. We've had plenty of guests, talk way more than you, so you're good. What is your actual reaction to the actual current president of the United States, Joe Biden's current term, and his actual job that he's done so far as a Rhode Island State Senator?
Biden, baby girl, like, forgive my loans. I'm looking at you. I think, like, was he the president that I wanted? No. Is he the president that we got? Yes. But I think this is the conversation that I hope more people pour into. Like, at a national level, yes, it matters, but there is so much more impact at the local level. We literally determine on a local level how we spend our dollars and who we care for. We can have better treatment for low-income people, poor people, recently immigrated folks, undocumented folks, for young people. We can have more rights for trans people, for intersex people in our state at a state level. It's up to our city council. It's up to our state legislature. People think that the president has the most power. That is clearly not the case when we have a president who is still at the beck and call of a Senate and a House. In Rhode Island, lots of people think that the most powerful person in a room is the governor. That is completely untrue. Some of the most power that's held in our state is by the Senate president and the House speaker. Those two people have no term limits. Most people don't even know their names, and they make and determine which laws get passed and which don't. They determine who gets appointed to certain boards and how much money they get to spend. They get to determine who runs our state. And so when people are like, what's happening at the federal level? I don't have faith in the federal level. I have faith right here in the grassroots with my neighbors and my friends who I build community with right here in Providence to make sure that no matter what happens federally, our state, our city, our people here are taken care of because we have the resources to do that right now.
And for those who are looking to vote now when it comes to the new term, the new actual slew of upcoming senators, the new terms that are ending and actually starting, what would you say to people, especially in your district, Rhode Island? Why should Rhode Islanders vote for Senator Mack? Especially, I saw this come up a lot of people, which you can add into your answer, because she is not born and raised in Rhode Island. So why should she be one of our state representatives?
Yeah, well, Rhode Island is now my home. I've been here for over a decade now. It is the place where I basically grew up. I lived in Georgia for 12 years, but my entire adult life, where I live, where I make money, and where I went to college has been here. I've worked tirelessly for the people of Rhode Island because I want to be here, because I want to create a family here, because I want this to be a place that not only I want to live, but other people have the right to live, the access, the ability to live here because they can afford a home, they can afford food, they have quality schools, and they have healthcare, and they have safe communities in which they live. Some people are born into a home and some people choose a home. That doesn't make their home any less valid. And I think it's a disservice to people who are working really hard to make sure that the home that they're living in and the home that other people live in is a quality place where everyone wants to live and where everyone's life matters and where everyone is respected and where no life is harder to live than another. And that might be idealistic for some people, but I believe that world is possible. And I lead and I create that change in those ways. My campaign slogan is hope in action. I am a very optimistic person. And I also believe that with that optimism, I have to be doing the work every single day with community in order to make that hope possible. There is no hope without action. So I do every single action to build more hope for the people around me. And so I think I can understand that some people are not used to people fighting so hard for people that they do not know. And that's what new, compassionate, bold leaders. I do not need to know you to respect you. I do not need to know you to love you. I do not need to know you in order to believe that you deserve a home, that you deserve access to healthcare, that you deserve access to food, that you shouldn't be exposed to toxic chemicals in your air and your water. I don't need to know you in order to believe that you don't deserve to be put on a pathway where you're going to be put inside the ACI. I don't need to know you in order to love you and feel compassion and feel that your life matters. And so when people say that you're not from here, I can love you regardless. I can respect you and have compassion and want to fight for you as if you were someone in my community because Rhode Island is my community. And so, I think that's what I would say. I will fight for you regardless. I will love you regardless. And I will fight for the people who need it most, the most marginalized, the most underrepresented, and the folks whose voices have not been heard in the State House before.
All right. And 2 last quick questions. What would be a quick sentence you would say to any young person out there in the world right now that's not interested in politics, does not care about voting? What is your opinion as a politician?
Yeah, I mean, I was not invested in politics either. I was not meant to be here. I did not see myself growing up here. But Rhode Island politics is literally wild. If y'all have not, a funny story, there was also another TikTok video today. The Senate president who's been there for 37 years, he literally was arrested for stealing condoms. He has DUIs. Rhode Island politics is wild. These are the people who are determining how millions of dollars a year are spent. Mm-hmm. We have people who have actively embezzled. My opponent literally was arrested for taking money from his campaign account 3 years ago before I was elected. His last term was right before I was elected. Wow. And he's running again against me. There are people there's another person who lives in Pawtucket, Tabone, who also took a lot of money from low income Black and brown people. And some people I believe were undocumented. These are the corrupt people who lead our state. You don't have to, quote unquote, know what you are doing. These people don't know what they're doing. Half these people literally do not care one way or the other. If you eat today, if you have a roof over your head today, all they care about is lining their pockets and lining their friends' pockets. I would rather someone who cares about something be in that space, making rules in collaboration with other people, because it's not just one person, it's a bunch of people coming together to make our community. So if you are passionate about making change, and it doesn't have to look like being an elected official. You can be a campaign manager. You can be someone who goes and testifies at the State House. You can be someone who follows politics and does the research. You can be someone who goes and knocks on your neighbor's door, telling them about a free program to make sure their kids are eating during the summer because they're no longer in school and there's no free lunch program. There's so many ways to get involved that don't look like just running. You just have to find it. You can make graphics, you can make music, you can make t-shirts. All of that is getting involved in the political process. There's a space for everyone to get involved in politics because politics is about community. So I hope more people feel that seeing a young, queer, Black, unapologetic person talking like this inspires them to say oh, well, damn, maybe I could do that. Maybe it's not as hard, or maybe it's not as scary, and maybe it's not as prohibitive. Maybe there aren't as many barriers because someone who looks like me is doing it and telling me that I can too.
Mm-hmm. And last question, Tiara Mack, now #1 search political situation happening. Tiara Mack twerking. Who would be the one politician if you were to challenge them to a twerk off dance battle? Look in the camera and call them out. One politician. It could be any other politicians actively serving. I would say actively, obviously, because it might be a possibility. We might make this happen. So who would be?
Oh my God. Honestly, I don't want to see none of them twerking. Because it would just be so unfortunate. I know, but it would be unfortunate for some of them. I don't want to put somebody out like that. I can't really is there anyone who looks like they got rhythm up there?
I mean, Nancy Pelosi.
No, don't say her name. We don't need her thinking she's cool with us because she ain't cool with us. Yeah, no, I there's so many exciting new young people. I would say, like, if you are Black and queer and under the age of 35 and you are in elected office, I want to see you twerk with me. Like, let's start a movement of young elected twerkers. Let's twerk for the people. Like, we're working for the people. Let's twerk for the people.
Okay. That would be very interesting. Twerk for the people, new movement. Tiara Mack, I appreciate you being here. We appreciate your time. And thank you for, giving us your time, just in general, for being here. Me. Yeah, so we wish her, luck this year, especially safety. You may feel however you feel. Feel free to share your opinions in the comments. If you are even maybe her adversary, if you would like to be provided the platform to maybe combat and actually respond to anything that she said today, feel free to reach out. We can maybe make that happen. I don't see why not. But I would say definitely I wish you safety. I hope this doesn't go, people are threatening you, but I hope that doesn't get especially like your home, like someone vandalizes you or like even like follows you. I hope it doesn't get to that extremity, because I don't think it's that serious at all. It's not serious enough to make a threat, let alone endanger her. She's a human being. You can agree, disagree, whatever. But, I don't know. It's, in my opinion, a lot of people got to relax. But I appreciate you again. And,
thank you.
We'll stay in touch. And everybody, this is CA Podcast Cap, and we're out.
They gon' let me for my ambition.